Empires never fall in a single moment. Not with the crash of a gate, nor the rise of an enemy army. They fall quietly, years before anyone notices. They fall when trust fades, when coins lose weight, when ledgers grow heavy with lies. Long before flames swallowed Rome, long before the British pound lost its crown, long before America printed trillions out of digital void, the first signs of decline were already etched into the currency. Money is more than metal, more than paper, more than numbers flickering across screens. Money is belief, and belief is fragile. Civilizations rise when faith is strong, and collapse when faith fractures. Scroll through history, and you will see the same pattern repeating like a drumbeat. Rising wealth, expanding ambition. Hidden debt, right arrow, currency distortion, right arrow, inflation, right arrow, fracture, right arrow, fall. Every empire tells itself the same story. This time is different, but the ruins say otherwise. Tonight, we trace the secret thread that ties together the collapse of Rome, the downfall of the Spanish Empire, the unwinding of Ottoman wealth, the British retreat from world dominance, and the fragile future of the American age. This is not just the story of money. It is the story of power, illusion, trust, and the consequences of forgetting that no empire is stronger than the currency that sustains it. And in the end, all empires discover the same truth. It is not armies that hold up a civilization. It is its money. Civilization began with counting. Clay tokens, scratched tallies, knots on ropes. Every early society understood that memory was not enough. Trade required certainty. Certainty required record. And record required trust. But the moment humanity created money, we created something else. The possibility of collapse. Because money, whether shells, silver, paper, or digital code, only works when people agree that it works. When belief breaks, systems follow. The pattern, how empires destroy their own money. 1. They grow rich. Wealth builds expansion, infrastructure, art, armies. 2. They overreach. Expansion demands more resources than reality can provide. 3. They borrow silently, desperately. Debts grow in the dark, justified in the name of greatness. 4. They debase currency. Gold becomes mixed with copper. Paper becomes backed by promises instead of reserves. Digital money becomes infinite. 5. Inflation rises. Prices climb, wages fail, panic spreads. 6. Trust dissolves. People flee into safer stores of value. 7. The empire fractures under its own invisible weight. Every major collapse in world history has carried this same signature, the erosion of money long before the erosion of walls. And today's world, built on debt, inflation, and financial engineering, is no exception. Before we dive into the great collapses, we must ask a question. Why does money matter so much? Because money is the mirror of civilization, a reflection of values, stability, discipline, and power. When the mirror cracks, the empire behind it shatters. Now, let us begin the descent through time. Rome, the first great warning. Rome did not fall because of barbarian armies. Those armies were only the final spark on a tinderbox centuries in the making. Rome fell because it forgot what money meant. For centuries, the Roman denarius was a symbol of power, a silver coin trusted across continents. But empire demands expansion. Expansion demands armies. Armies demand pay. And so the emperors began the slow poison of debasement. Silver became 90%, then 70%, then 40%, until finally, the denarius was little more than copper dipped in thin silver wash. Prices soared. Soldiers mutinied. Trade collapsed. Citizens hoarded gold, and refused to trust state currency. Inflation became the silent invader Rome could never repel. By the 3rd century, a loaf of bread cost 8,000 denarii. The empire fractured into 3. Plague spread. Borders dissolved. Money died first. Rome died second. And the pattern was set for the next 2,000 years. The Spanish Empire, drowning in its own gold. Spain once ruled the oceans. Its ships carried more silver than any empire had ever seen. But this ocean of wealth became its curse. Instead of building industry, Spain flooded Europe with silver. Prices rose across the continent. Inflation ravaged the poor. The empire became dependent on endless inflows of metal. When the mines slowed, the economy shattered. Debt soared. Spain declared bankruptcy 4 times in a single century. Gold could not save them. Because money alone does not create wealth. Discipline does. Spain had metal without management, and the empire collapsed under its own prosperity. The Ottoman Empire's slow erosion, silent decline. The Ottomans survived for centuries, but their fall was written in their money. Debased coins, multiple competing currencies, counterfeit flooding, chronic debt to European banks. Every reform came too late. Inflation consumed their military, their trade, their administration. Once known as the sick man of Europe, the empire didn't die suddenly. It decayed from the inside, eroded by centuries of financial mismanagement. The British Empire, the cost of global power. The British pound once ruled the world. It was the reserve currency, the trusted medium of international trade. But world wars are expensive, and Britain paid for them with debt. By 1945, the empire was drowning in obligations. The US dollar replaced the pound. Colonies broke free. London retreated from global dominance. An empire built on trade was undone by the cost of maintaining power. The lesson: even the strongest currency can collapse under the weight of ambition. America, the modern empire of debt. Now we enter the present. The United States is the wealthiest civilization in human history. But it has also accumulated the greatest debt ever recorded. In 1971, the dollar severed its final tie to gold. Money became infinite, printed at will. Inflation became permanent. Assets inflated. Wages stagnated. Wealth concentrated. Every crisis, 1987, 2000, 2008, 2020, was met with the same solution. Print more money. Add more debt. Stretch the illusion further. America became Rome with computers. An empire maintained not through armies alone, but through financial dominance, the global reliance on the dollar. But every system has limits. Every currency has breaking points. Every empire believes it is immortal until the day it is not. Will America fall? Not today. Not tomorrow. But history whispers a warning. No empire has escaped the cycle. Digital age, the new frontier of trust. Today, money is no longer physical. It is screens, code, server farms, central bank ledgers. Inflation is built into the system. Debt is endless. Money is created not by minting, but by typing. We have never been richer. We have never been more vulnerable. Because when money becomes pure abstraction, the collapse is no longer physical, it is psychological. One shift in trust, one fracture in belief, and the entire system can unravel. The fall of empires is no longer measured in centuries. It can unfold in days. Just ask Rome. Just ask Britain. Just ask the civilizations buried under the dust of forgotten currencies. The forbidden truth: money is the first to fall. Here is the revelation hidden across thousands of years. Empires do not collapse when they run out of power. They collapse when they run out of trust. When citizens doubt the currency, everything else follows: politics, stability, borders, armies, institutions. Money is the bloodstream of civilization. And once poisoned, the body cannot survive. Rome debased its coins. Spain drowned in silver. Ottomans devalued endlessly. Britain lost global backing. America prints trillions to sustain illusion. The pattern is identical, because all money, ancient or modern, depends on the same fragile ingredient: belief. When belief dies, so does the empire. And for the first time in human history, the world is connected by a single financial system, a single global market, a single web of debt. If this system falters, it will not be one empire that falls. It will be all of them. The mirror of history. The fall of empires is not a prophecy. It is a pattern. A warning carved into tombs, written on decrees, minted on coins, and buried under ruins. We stand today with tools Rome could not imagine: technology, trade, data, global communication. But beneath all of it lies the same ancient structure: money built on confidence. The question is no longer whether empires fall. The question is, what happens when the next currency loses trust? When debt outweighs belief? When inflation becomes irreversible? History is not repeating. It is accelerating. And as always, the fall will not begin with war. It will begin with money. Empires die from within, not from swords, but from the silent collapse of value. In the end, the rise and fall of civilizations is not decided by generals or kings, but by faith in a promise written on paper, stamped on metal, or pulsing in code. The gold is gone. The power is shifting. The future waits. But the pattern remains. When money breaks, empires follow.